Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're tackling something incredibly raw and honestly profoundly important. We all do it, right? Every single day, we scroll through our social media feeds, we see these intense snippets of protests or political unrest, we might drop a quick like or a reshare, and then boom, we just swipe to the next thing. But today, we're doing something different. Our goal is to uncover the unfiltered reality hidden directly behind those short, curated social media clips. We're zeroing in on a very specific, terrifying event from July 27, 2026, to look at the extreme harm faced by students on the ground. It's a reality that almost nobody is talking about, mostly because algorithms prefer punchy reels over complex, painful truths. So let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens when that 15-second viral reel ends and the real chaos begins? I really want you to hold that question in your mind throughout our time together today. I'm challenging you to look completely past those highly edited feeds we're all so used to consuming. We really need to understand the true human cost and the visceral danger of these events, because when the camera stops recording for Instagram or TikTok, the people on the ground don't just disappear. They're left navigating a sudden, incredibly violent reality.
Section 1. Behind the viral reels. To truly grasp this, we have to look behind the clips. Today, we've got access to something incredibly rare and eye-opening. Translated transcripts pulled from raw, time-stamped audio captured directly on the ground during a protest. No filters, no dramatic background music added in post-production. This is just the exact words, shouts, and panic conversations of the people who were actually there. And just look at the stark contrast here. On one side, you have our curated social media feeds, fragmented, completely out of context, and built for engagement. But on the other side, the raw, on-the-ground reality. What we're about to look at is an unedited descent into violence. The sheer physical peril these youth face while standing up for their beliefs gets entirely lost in the digital noise. We completely lose sight of the fact that real lives are at stake here.
Section 2. A 10-minute escalation.
Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because this is really the core of today's explainer. Think about what you normally do in 10 minutes. Maybe you brew a cup of coffee? Well, all the raw data and transcripts we're about to examine occur within a shockingly brief, terrifying 10-minute window late at night on July 27, 2026. For these young people, it was a rapid descent into a literal fight for survival. Starting at 23:10, bombs are thrown into the crowd. A mere 3 minutes later, at 23:13, there are documented reports of live gunfire. By 23:17, complete mass panic sets in as individuals flee for their lives. And finally, by 23:20, the survivors are pleading for help at a police station. It's wild to see exactly how fast a situation escalates from a tense standoff into a full-blown crisis zone.
Let's look closely at how this kicks off. The transcript at exactly 23:10 and 24 seconds reveals these frantic voices shouting, "Bombs were thrown, it was a big one." Just imagine the sheer terror of that moment. In an instant, the entire environment shifts. You've got the immediate introduction of severe physical danger and explosive devices into a crowd of protesting youth. Any sense of safety is completely shattered. This isn't just a clash of ideologies anymore. It's a sudden, immediate threat to life and limb.
Yet, amidst this explosive start, the ideological fervor doesn't just vanish. Less than 2 minutes later, at 23:12, the audio actually captures passionate Urdu poetry ringing out through the chaos. A voice recites, "Oppression, when it grows, is wiped out. Blood, when it drips, will freeze." This really shows us the deep ideological drive of the crowd. Even as things turn incredibly dangerous, those themes of resisting oppression and standing firm against injustice are actively fueling the protesters.
And this brilliantly illustrates the immense cognitive dissonance happening on the ground in real time. On one hand, we have these sweeping, poetic verses about resisting oppression and shedding blood. But on the exact same hand, these protesters are facing raw, imminent danger. The conceptual fight for justice suddenly collides violently with the most basic human instinct for physical survival. It's this profound contrast between the ideals they are chanting for and the horrific reality they're actively having to dodge.
Section 3. The human toll.
This brings us to the absolute most crucial and often ignored part of these events. We need to shift our focus entirely to the specific physical harm inflicted on the students and youth during this chaotic escalation. This is the reality those viral reels rarely show you, usually because it's too graphic, too sad, or it just doesn't fit a neat political narrative. At 23:13 and 35 seconds, the transcript takes a profoundly dark turn. We hear the frantic, terrified shouts of someone realizing that lethal force is being used. He is firing bullets. He has been shot. He has been shot in the leg. Just pause and let that sink in for a second. This isn't a movie. This is the stark, horrific reality of a protester taking a live bullet to the leg. The sheer panic in those words represents a life that is irrevocably altered in a fraction of a second.
When you compile all the audio cues from just this tiny window, the types of violence witnessed are honestly staggering. We've got the initial explosions from homemade bombs. In the audio at 23:16, we can hear the horrifying sounds of physical beatings and mob chaos, with people literally yelling to run, beat him, beat him. And of course, the live gunfire targeting extremities exactly like we just saw. I really want to remind everyone watching, these are real people. These are young students facing severe, life-altering risks. They aren't just pixels on a screen to be swiped past.
As the chaos peaks around 23:17, the transcripts capture protesters frantically fleeing the gunfire. One voice shouts, "Look how many bullets! Is this what will happen in Modi's government?" Now, it's really important to note that we are simply reporting the raw audio as it happened. These are highly politically charged claims, but they're being made by frightened individuals in the absolute heat of a chaotic moment, just processing the violence as they flee for their lives.
But even in the midst of extreme mass panic, the human spirit displays a shocking level of resilience. At 23:19, just 2 minutes after running from gunfire, the audio picks up a defiant rhythmic chant, Jia Jia Ho Bihar Ke Lala. That translates to, "Long live the sons of Bihar." This is so fascinating. It illustrates how sheer willpower and regional pride persist even when you're faced with explosive devices and bullets. They are literally drawing on their shared identity as a shield against the absolute terror surrounding them.
Section 4. Pleas of the Youth.
So the crucial point is what happens as our 10-minute window draws to a close and the adrenaline begins to crash. The immediate act of violence transitions into this desperate aftermath. After surviving homemade bombs, physical beatings, and live bullets, the protesters have nowhere else to go. At exactly 23:20, the transcripts show the group arriving at a local police station. They're desperately rushing to the authorities, seeking any sort of refuge from the chaos that has completely engulfed the streets.
And the final transcript we have from this 10-minute window is absolutely haunting. You can hear a breathless voice pleading with an officer. "Sir, they threw a bomb here. Please call for help, sir. We are youth." That specific word, youth, or yuva in Hindi, is so incredibly powerful here. They are explicitly self-identifying as young people, as students who are bearing the absolute brunt of this immense harm. It is a desperate cry for protection from a generation that's caught in the crossfire of escalating unrest.
Which brings us to the most important question of all. When we mindlessly scroll past these videos online, when we consume protests as just another piece of digital content, are we actively ignoring the true human cost? Are we turning a blind eye to the youth who paid the price with their safety, their bodies, and their peace of mind in those terrifying 10 minutes? I really want you to think about that the next time a 15-second reel pops up on your feed. What unseen reality is happening just out of frame? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this complex and vital explainer today. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.